Well, the IRS, I mean, people can fill their forms out now. The IRS has said they will begin accepting electronic files on January 30th. The problem with that is that's pretty much only for the people with very simple returns, because they came out with a list of those who have depreciation, those who have tax credits, or all kinds of things. It will be the end of February to early March before those can electronically file. So all of those people and all those businesses that use those forms, they then can't give K-1s or the information to their shareholders or their owners or about what to file on their returns. And so you're going to see people, for instance, farmers have to file by March the 1st. The IRS has come out with an announcement last week or 2 weeks ago that says, we understand farmers have to file by March the 1st, but we're not going to be ready to accept their returns. And so they've now got till April 15th this year. But they have to put some special notations on their tax return as to why they're not filing by March 1st, even though it's the government's fault. This all really hinges back to the late passing of the tax law. The tax law that Congress was fighting over and passed in January, that when they finally did pass it, it had some changes that retroactively affected things on the tax return, alternative minimum tax, bonus depreciation, all of those types of things. So the IRS had to go back and program their software, and there's really nobody to blame. It is where it is, but it is really going to cause some major problems, because all the firms like us, we're meeting with our tax clients, and the software has come out. They have it programmed in the software that we use, so we can go ahead and meet with them and calculate the returns, but you can't electronically file those with the IRS. And so all the returns that we and other tax preparation firms prepare during January and February, we're all going to try and file them as soon as the IRS turns that on in the end of February. And I certainly hope we don't have the mass chaos of taking down the internet, the IRS's internet site, because the returns they're used to getting over a 45-day time period, they're going to get in probably 2 or 3 days' time. And I hope that they have the safeguards built in it to keep from losing or missing a lot of that data. Because you don't really have a choice as to whether you want to electronically file anymore. For the most part, firms like us, the IRS says if we're going to prepare people's taxes, we have to electronic file. So that's not an option. And electronic filing is a good thing, because it saves the IRS data key punch errors, it saves things getting lost in the mail. But at the same time, when we're hitting this many people dumping returns in, when you got 350 million people in the U.S. or whatever the number is, and not all of them are taxpayers, but when any of them that are small business owners are invested in other businesses or whatnot, farmers, ranchers, self-employed people, when they can't file their returns until halfway through the tax season, because the tax season starts January 1 and it ends April 15th, and it's sometime in March before most of them can file a tax return, it could be a little bit interesting before this is all over.
Yeah, I think it is.
January 30th is when they started, but that's only for very simple returns. Mm-hmm. They won't accept the majority of the returns. The people that only have a W-2, that fill out their own return, those returns, they can start filing this Wednesday. I think they're supposed to start accepting those, is what they've told us. So those will get closer, and that takes care of the ones that really want their rapid refund and those types of things. But it doesn't take care of those who have any of the myriad of other things, whether it is if they put money into a retirement account, into an IRA. There's a tax credit for that, and that form's not finalized yet. And so those people, they've taken a nice little tax deduction that they should be saving for their retirement, but they can't file their taxes for a while. Now it's pretty much the IRS has addresses where you got to mail your payments and stuff, and that's all in the tax programs and pretty straightforward. There's a lot of changes in the tax laws, but the process of filing is fairly consistent. You're going to electronically file. You have to sign that. You're going to see more and more firms that do your taxes now have to get what they call an engagement letter. It's basically a letter that says you give us everything, we do the best we can with it, but it's kind of a letter that's in this legal environment, everybody's trying to protect. Okay, make sure you understand what we're doing for you, what you're supposed to do, and all of that. You might want to say it's a CYA letter, but anyhow, there's a lot more firms that are having to go through these because we have privacy laws, we have all these laws of can we even send you an email during the year or can we not, because the IRS has come out with these Circular 230 regulations for preparers. It says, okay, you can't use their tax. If you know this guy's in business because you do his taxes, you can't use that information for anything else you work with him on. There's a lot of privacy rules that we have to comply with, but the average individual that's actually just filing their taxes, they won't see a lot of difference. It's mostly going electronic file. The biggest people that are losers probably out of the changes to electronic filing is the post office, because they don't have the lines there anymore on the last days. The number stays pretty constant. We are working with people, like in my own personal situation, I set certain days of the week aside that I do appointments, and I do appointments all days on those days, and that's just part of it. The other days, we still have to keep up with all our other clients, and the business owners that we're helping them make financial decisions year round, we still got to do that. So the unique thing about tax season is you got this 3.5 month time period here that you see everybody. You only see once a year, but you still have to keep doing all the things you do the year round. So it's a hectic thing. It just means you have to put in a lot more hours because people come to businesses like us to solve their problems. And it's just like, I don't understand how to get under the hood and repair one of these newfangled cars. When I was growing up, I could change the plugs. Now you can't even find them on a car. Well, the tax law is kind of like that. And people that don't understand it want somebody to help them understand it. So we feel a service just like everything else has gotten more and more specialized in this world. And if you read the instructions, the IRS has in the instruction manual how long it takes you to prepare it should take you to prepare all these things, and that's getting to huge numbers, 15, 20 hours or better that it's expected to take you to prepare your own return. It's questionable whether people that don't have simple returns can actually keep up on those things as they go forward. People have simple returns, I really can't help them. They got a W-2, they put it in, the tax is this or it isn't this. And so firms like us are not here to try and do something they can do for themselves. We're here to help them in the areas where we can help them. My biggest piece of advice would be when you get done with it, take a look at it and make sure it makes sense. And because I've had people that come to me that have done their own returns, and most of these tax softwares, and I won't mention any of them, but they're very good. They actually come up and they ask you questions and say, did you have this? Did you have this? And did you have this? But the problem is there's a lot of deductions in the tax law you can take in multiple places, and that software will ask you that question in every place, and if you answer it yes in every place, you'll take the deduction many more times than you're allowed to. And so I would just caution people to try and understand what the return should look like before you start. So when you get done, before you punch that button and say, file my return, does it make sense? That's the one piece of advice. Have an idea where you should be standing, and if you don't come out there, why didn't you get there? So that's, if I got one piece of advice, that'd be it. And be patient, because your refunds are not going to be as timely. Last year the IRS would print they actually pre-printed a schedule that says if you file on this date, you can expect your refund to hit on this date. Now they send a schedule, and I think their latest thing says you can expect your refund within 3 weeks. And who knows what will happen with this huge number of returns that goes in now here in the end of January, and then again the end of February, early March. I'd be surprised if there are not some delays in the refunds. So don't spend the money before you get it.